Welcome, everyone, to episode 158 of Puppet Masters and Castle Freaks, the internet's leading all things Charles Band podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jared Charming, obviously. I'm Jared Hornbeck, and I'm coming to you from Pilgrimtown, Massachusetts, which is bizarrely located in Brooklyn, New York. I don't really understand the geography of that, but hey, you know what? It's all right, because I do have a cool CD collection. And I just want to throw this out there, guys. Does anybody want popcorn? For some reason, I really want popcorn after watching this movie. But no, I'm not the only one who is scouring this Romanian, American, Canadian suburb. No, who else is here with me?
Well, it is I, the brave and gallant fella, Steve Guntley, and this is the podcast about talking frogs, floating pencils, and Schwarzenegger grips. That's because this is the podcast about Teen Sorcery, a late-Moonbeam film from the Romanian-Canadian team at Canarom. You're right, it does kind of exist in this liminal space. It's like Springfield, where the borders meet Canada, the United States, and Romania. We're right in that little subsection right there. This is the second of the Canarom package of films that we have talked about, which we will get into a little bit more about what that means for those who are just joining. But we do have a returning guest joining us here today, a third-timer, officially a freaky. That's right. Who is joining us here today?
Hi guys, I'm Becky Darke, and very much like Marie Antoinette, I rule through terror. And if you give me the right jewelry, I will turn into a fire-breathing dragon. So
I've heard this about you.
I suspected it.
Confirmation. I'm glad that we can break this exclusive, because it's like one of those things that's been rumored in the horror scene for a while.
I know.
Be a dragon, but now we can confirm.
I figured if there was ever going to be a platform for me to speak about my truth, this was going to be it. And yeah, I am a fire-breathing dragon. I live in a castle. It's just a pleasure to be back and to kind of try and fit my enormous amulet under the tiny 90s cami tops that I wear at all times.
You think that would protrude? You think it would be like you look over there's like, is somebody wearing He-Man armor under that? Like it's a big bulky thing,
You would think that.
Yeah.
But no, 90s cami tops. If anybody knows, I do. They were more structurally sound than they might appear.
And the burgundy, I think, is it tricks the eye. I think it distracts a little bit. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Well, we are delighted to have you back always.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we're already off and running with the conversation of 90s fashion, because this movie was released in September of 1999, which means these things have a quick turnaround from concept to execution to release. So this thing was probably shot in like May or June of 1999 for it to be released. And as somebody who graduated high school in June of 1999, let me tell you, the fashion in this movie, there are so many tips that are frosted. There are like you already mentioned some of the fashion on the girls. If you grabbed my junior or senior high school yearbook and looked, you would see a third of the male population of my graduating class and the class or two below looked exactly like Michael Charming.
Oh yeah, the flannel short sleeve button ups that are like not quite fitted and are definitely untucked. The frosted tips, the teeny tiny little low rise jeans on all the girls. Yeah, this was definitely this encapsulated that time pretty well. I thought, from my own memories of it.
And as we all know, as soon as you enter into the dark world of witchy powers at any point, your wardrobe automatically becomes like 25% cooler.
Oh, yeah.
So, you need to then make sure that you are in sunglasses at all times. You need to make sure that you have some kind of like long black, quite shiny material kind of coat with like a little kind of midriff showing underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody just knows like you can't cast a spell if you don't look really cool. So.
Oh, and be careful about going back to the 60s too, because you definitely will end up looking like a community theater production of Hair.
Mhm.
with yes, this is roughly what we all looked like back then. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
We said we were known to say the word groovy, but that's
Yeah,
anachronistic, right?
we had posters everywhere saying "Make love, not war." Obviously, yeah, that's how we lock it in time,
Who
But we
wasn't
are.
humming a guitar in the locker room?
Oh yeah, no, obviously everybody in the big co-ed locker room that everybody. hung
Steve,
out
I have
in,
a question for you. Do you have any? You got a question for Jimi Hendrix?
Oh yeah. Send him that. Yeah, send him all my information because we're definitely going back to talk to that guy.
I was trying to go a Simpsons route with that one. I was going to try to get you to do the veterinarian. Say, yeah, tell him to pick up his dog.
Oh, leaving money on the table. Oh, I revoked my Simpsons fan club card. I can't believe I didn't pick that up. Yes, pick up your dog, Rover Hendricks, 87-year-old dog. But anyway, we are delighted to have Becky back. I think this is your third time. We previously had you on to talk about Bad Channels and Assault of the Killer Bimbo. So you're really kind of running the gamut here. I was curious why you wanted to come on to talk about this Moonbeam film, a young adult adaptation from kind of late in the Moonbeam period.
This is on paper so my jam, and on paper is probably the best like fun way to put it, because if you know anything about me, you'll know that I used to co-host a podcast called Don't Point That Horror at Me, which was all about the 90s like YA kind of horror leaning paperback books called Point Horror. And I was just obsessed with them as a kid, and we would kind of almost use them like trading cards in the playground. You know, it'd be like, oh well, have you read Trick or Treat yet? Oh, I have. Have you read Dream Lover? Yeah, okay. You know, we'll swap these two. Or have you seen? There's a new one by R.L. Stein out. Oh my god! And it was a kind of overarching kind of title, I guess, like collection of books under the Scholastic publications house that used to put out these very kind of tweeny, cheesy sort of horror stories by a various collection of authors, R.L. Stein being one of them, but people like Caroline B. Cooney, and
Christopher Pike. Did you have Christopher Pike over there? Yeah.
I mean, Christopher Pike was kind of adjacent. I'm not sure that he actually wrote under Point Horror, or if he did, he only did one or two and then kind of like branched out. But it was all very much the kind of same style of thing. They always had these beautiful front covers with sort of girls, usually in amazing 90s outfits, like looking scared while a pumpkin is in the background against a window with like a slash of blood across it. Like amazing stuff, right? And I mean, I was completely obsessed. The one thing I found about hosting a books podcast is that even if your book is aimed at a young adult audience and is only about 110 pages long, I'm an extremely slow reader. And so even when we were doing it kind of monthly, the kind of take on of work amongst everything else, which was like trying to get through this book, even though it was very short and easy to read, just became a bit kind of unsustainable is the way to put it. But we had so much fun while we were doing it. And we used to do amazing little features on our podcast where we would kind of look at the films that were out at the same time as the book was released, the like chart topping pop songs and all of that kind of thing. It was really fun, like absolute nostalgia fest. But when I saw Teen Sorcery on the list for you guys, I was like, holy shit, like that basically looks like a Point Horror book has just been regurgitated onto screen. Like even the poster and the plot synopsis, it's like new girl turns up to new school, there's a bully and there's something weird going on. Could she be a witch? Oh yeah, and now she's gonna have to find a way to stop her like destroying the world through her evil teen girl magic. I was like, yeah, I am in.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. This is definitely operating in that kind of vein. And we talked a little bit about it the last time. I think the last movie we covered from this era of Moonbeam was called Teenage Space Vampires. Yep. Title's doing a lot more heavy lifting than the movie, unfortunately. But they are kind of transitioning a little bit. So Moonbeam, as we knew it when it was first originated, was films like Pre-Hysteria and Dragon Worlds and Pet Shop. It's stuff for like younger, like tween kids or something like
The
that.
masterpiece known as Remote.
Of course, absolutely, which definitely has never heard of a movie called Home Alone. What are you talking about? That doesn't exist. But no, it's they were skewing much younger, and now I don't want to give them credit for growing with their audience necessarily, but I think they are understanding like that the market has shifted a little bit, right? We are starting to see this resurgence in kind of blushing young adult horror books that have like a little hint of like kind of Dawson's Creek style, like teeny angst romance, but like not going super far into that, you know? So we're starting to get a little bit more mature themes. The kids are now like in their late high school, and they're played by people in their early 20s. And, you know, it's no longer catering specifically to little kids. But let's learn a little bit more about the making of this movie. Teen Sorcery was released September 28th, 1999. It's directed by Victoria Muspratt. It was written by Alan Kaplan, and it stars AJ Cook, Craig Olejnik, Lexa Doig, Amy Castle, Nadia Litz, Anne Anglin, Iona Cretescu, Tommy Kristen, and Konstantin Babalescu. So this is one of the package of 6 films that came out under a deal with a company called Canarom, which of course is Canada and Romania mashed together. They essentially took over operations of Moonbeam in the late 1990s. This means that we're getting a lot of Canadian accents and a lot of very clearly Eastern European settings.
I'm sorry, Steve. What did you just say?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what I was talking about. But that means, yeah, so they're really trying to do their best. So for this package of like 6 movies that they directed for Full Moon, they basically created like a little mini suburb in the outskirts of Bucharest where they filmed all of these. So they built their own little kind of like fake nuclear testing grounds town that they're filming these movies in. And so if it looks pretty similar to some of the other movies we've talked about, that's because it's very likely the same house, the same school, the same everything, probably the same handful of teachers playing, or a handful of actors playing teachers, which makes it kind of like a Shermer, Illinois, of like the John Hughes universe or something like that. Like, I'm not going to give them that much.
No Shermer, Illinois.
Yeah. This was released under multiple names, including Sleeping Beauty and Kid Charming, and The Sleeping Spell. So depending on your region or your streaming platform, you may find it under one of those titles. And I was surprised to learn that the director here, Victoria Muspratt, is actually not a pseudonym from David Dakota. This is actually a real human woman who directed this movie. This is the only movie that she ever directed. She was a former casting director. And she kind of stepped in and did this movie here. I also always like to highlight when we have a couple of actors who sort of made it out of the Full Moon system. We have a couple here. We have AJ Cook, the lead. She's a young Canadian actress coming off a very high-profile role in Sofia Coppola's The Virgin Suicides. I think she's like 5th or 6th billed in that. So big movie. And she would follow this up as the lead of Final Destination 2, arguably the most iconic in the franchise, thanks to the log truck sequence. And since then, she went on to star in 333 episodes of the TV show Criminal Minds, which is, if you can get into that Criminal Minds, NCIS pipeline, you are set for life. So AJ Cook is probably worth more money than any of us will ever see in our entire lives, and never needs to work again.
This is fun because this is one of the few times where we get to play to our like over 70 crowd of listeners. You know, 400,000 episodes of Criminal Minds you've seen. Well, that's where you know Agent JJ or AJ Cook here from.
I've seen 0 episodes of any of those shows. It's like such a huge gap for me. I think I do have a lot of friends who defend Criminal Minds. It's like, if you're going to get into one of these, Criminal Minds is like the fun one. Or like Cold Case,
it's pretty fun.
Like that.
It's pretty fun.
Is this the Joe Mantegna one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. I know that's like a cycling host. Like, that's a big gap for me. I've also never seen a single frame of any episode of Law and Order, any version of it. So somehow I managed to dodge that. I have no idea how.
Well, we don't add a lot of sound effects, but I kind of, would like you to go back and just add a bum bum.
Yeah.
In that little pause there.
I have also never seen a single episode of Law and Order, but the moment you said those 3 words, my brain went, Ba-bum.
Bum bum, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I knew enough to understand the Community episode. That's like a really dead-on parody of it. Like I have absorbed
Mhm.
enough through like cultural osmosis, but never actually sat and watched an episode. So, Lexa Doig is another name that might be familiar, and not just because it sounds like a fun sound effect, but it's because she was the lead of the oft maligned but honestly stupid fun Jason X. So she is the
Mhm.
one who is frozen alongside Jason and de-thawed in the
Yeah.
far distant future. Where are we on Jason X as a culture? I think that movie is pretty hilarious.
I will not have a word said against it.
I like it.
Low-key masterpiece.
Look, it's about as dumb as a piece of art has ever been.
Yeah.
I love it
but
so
To its
much.
betterment. To its betterment.
I love a
think
big
it knows
swing.
exactly what it wants to be.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
I love a
it
big
has-
weird
it-
short. Yeah,
It has one of the best kills in any of the Friday the 13th films.
Frozen Bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frozen
Yeah.
Bath. Yeah, immediately.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
And,
David Cronenberg's inexplicably in it. I mean,
Cronenberg's in
come
it.
on.
Speaking
Oh.
of Canadian productions,
Oh boy,
Right.
yeah.
Like-
I think at this point, like if it's a Canadian film, he's just kind of like hanging around. He's just like, "Hey guys,
Yeah.
you can be weird in the background."
but that's
He's really
really
having a
funny
moment.
about this Canaram Productions slate of movies here, because we've seen a couple of them now, and it's like, yeah, you can see this very like desperate housewivesy picket fence neighborhood that they built in the middle of Romania. It's like, this is clearly a bunch of Canadian actors playing Americans, but then when it comes to like the crew itself, like no fewer than 6 Vlads worked on this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. There's so many of them, and I will preface this episode by just saying I genuinely had a really good time with this movie. I think this one is like pretty solid, and I think this has a stronger script than a lot of movies from this era, and I think it's got more like the big problem we run into with movies of this era, especially like the Moonbeam era movies of this
Mhm.
era, is that they don't really have a motor. Like they don't. There's a lot of like puttering around in between like set pieces, right? Or there's a lot of like long takes of nothing really happening. I feel like something unique and new and something that's driving the plot is happening at every moment in this movie.
Well, this
They
movie
really-
starts. It
Oh, go ahead.
starts with a fisheye lens shot of the our lead character here inside the like Morningside mortuary from Phantasm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was getting shades of like demonic toys in this sequence too, where it's just like, oh, okay, we're getting kind of like a trippy Dali-esque dream sequence, although this is clearly not as accomplished as that one, which is a weird thing to say about demonic toys, but yeah.
But I think it is like attempting to be more ambitious than demonic toys. Like whether or not it really works fully is to be, is a conversation that we can and will have shortly. But like, I think opening the movie that way was really disorienting. And I was like, okay, this movie just started and already I had a preconceived notion of what I thought I was getting myself into. And this opening scene, how well it's executed aside, is not at all what I was expecting.
No.
And so I was kind of, and then it kind of then, like a giant spider screensaver appears and I'm like, okay, this is very 1999 coded in that way. But the start of it with the kind of almost fisheye lens meeting a Dutch angle in this like white marble hallway of what I will say, we joke a little bit about the Romanian sets here and the integrity of them. And we'll talk more about that later also, but like pretty cool old library set.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you joke about the 90s screensaver spider, but genuinely that effect, considering I'm assuming this wasn't a particularly high budget movie, and we
Can't
can see
imagine.
that for
Yeah.
the rest of the movie, when the old scary hag witch lady kind of melts or kind of disappears into the floor and turns into like a black spot, and then the spot immediately turns into an enormous spider that kind of scuttles forwards towards our heroine. I was like, that actually looked pretty sick. I was genuinely pleasantly surprised.
It's setting
kind
a
of
weird
charming
tone too. Yeah, it's setting a tone for this movie right off the bat. Where I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be a little weirder than I thought it was. This is going to be, I think ambitious is maybe not the total word, but I think this is in the same way that like we've seen with a lot of Danny Draven movies, like early in the Tempe era, where they have like absolute micro budgets. There's still a lot of innovation within their limitations, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing here as well. You know, we introduced.
I mean, we should have known. We should have known from the very beginning when we put this on, and the first thing I saw was a Film Rise title card.
Absolutely, yeah, we need that. This takes place, of course, in the very real sounding town of Pilgrimtown, Massachusetts, obviously, you know, because if this really feels like a kind of, okay, what do we know about Massachusetts?
It's like in this another Simpsons reference here when they're in Japan and they go to America Town, and the outside of it is the giant like Pep Boys thing, but it's got like Abe Lincoln and Elvis and the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, our three national heroes. Yeah, absolutely. But this is kind of a standard kind of like boilerplate, like girl shows up new at a new school and is like struggling to fit in, and then also discovers that maybe there's something witchy going on here. And a lot of that is coming from Lexa Doig playing the really having a lot of fun, I think, as the bitchy cheerleader. Like this is a real trope, and somebody even like at this in the text of the movie says like, she's so popular and she's so pretty and she has it all. Why is she still so mean to everybody? Like, and it's because turns out she's got some magical powers, and she's maybe got a little bit of a what's the Twilight Zone episode with the little boy who like has all the superpowers.
It's a Good Life.
Him. Yeah. She's got a little bit of that going on where like she needs people to be subservient to her all times, or she's gonna turn you into a nerd or something. Like, you know.
She's the best thing in this film. I thought like, because she is essentially just the queen bitch, right? She's like the head plastic. Everybody knows this trope. Everybody knows this archetype. And she didn't have to be this good in the film. Like she's genuinely selling it to me. Yeah. And I was like, all right, okay, props. Like she's hitting it out the park, and I was here for it.
Her performance in this role is so good, like above and beyond what it needs to be for it, that before we got too far into the movie, I already had in my brain that I was going to call this lady Charisma-less Carpenter. Can't do it. I can't do it. It doesn't apply. I have to take it back.
I can't imagine there's a universe where this movie crosses Tina Fey's desk at any point, but like it is funny to see how many parallels there are to Mean Girls. This is 5 years before Mean Girls, and it's like I was getting a lot of flashes. I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of understands like at least the exaggerated hierarchy of high school that's depicted in that movie. Like, I feel like they're getting at some of the same points here.
Definitely. And, like at one point in the cafeteria scene where our new girl is kind of looking for somewhere to sit, I almost heard in my head like Mercedes and her plastics go, "You can't sit with us." Like it was, you know, it was that kind of familiar. Which, you know, again, it's very point horror, it's very YA, it's very, very tropey. But there's kind of enough here to sell it without it feeling completely just kind of, I don't know, like wringing the bathwater out of a like face towel, you know. It was there's enough there. They're landing on a lot of like very well established like high school movie tropes, but I genuinely liked her friend group. You know, she sits down at this table of girls and like just kind of like bonds with them immediately, and there's not really a whole lot of build up to that. It's just like, oh yeah, you guys are in the movie now. But I thought they were all genuinely pretty good. Like most of these are still working actors, like mostly in Canada, but like Nadia Litz, who plays kind of the nerdy friend. Speaking of Cronenberg, she was in Crimes of the Future. She was in a couple of other recent like things like that. Mary is very, very noticeably Romanian and being heavily dubbed over, but otherwise like all of these are working Canadian actors to this day, and I think there's good reason. I think they're all like really solid, and they're trying to have fun with this movie. I think this was shot very, very quickly, as all of these movies around this time were, and there's not a whole lot of
fidelity in terms of, the filmmaking, but it's still,
Well,
they're having fun.
there's a descriptor that David J gives to these movies where he calls them mom and pop store fodder aimed at the least discerning of kids. And it's like, that's, maybe that's a little reductive and a little bit snarky, but I do think like these like 6 movies that were in the Canaram productions, that is basically, that's why they exist. Like when Mercedes and her crew are walking through, it's like, you cannot look at this and not immediately think of The Craft. Like you can't immediately, like the references, I mean, the things that the trends in this kind of story that this movie is exploiting are really obvious. So I don't necessarily look at that so much as like an insult to the movie. I mean, this movie, its main objective was to, get somebody's grandparent to pick this up off a VHS shelf because they know their kid likes similar movies and buy it for them or rent it for them. And I think with that in mind, for this being that type of movie, there is a little more care and a little more attention to detail in some of the aspects of it, and it ends up being for it a little bit better than maybe you would expect it to. Whereas with something like Teenage Space Vampires, it's like they have the more like supernatural space gateway horror element that they kind of flounder in that one. And here I feel like, yeah, okay, sure, I'm not going to pretend like this movie exists for any other real reason other than to trick someone into renting a movie about teenage sorcery based on other stuff that they like. But like that being said, this is perfectly serviceable and watchable and enjoyable enough for that. Like
no, definitely.
Yeah.
And like, there are moments like the mean girls walking down the corridor kind of in a line, and everybody sort of turns and looks, or there's a sort of sharp intake of breath. Like we've seen this so many times, The Craft, Jawbreaker, stuff like that. And when I said earlier about like, obviously as soon as they start learning to do magic, all of their outfits go cooler. Like all of this stuff is like, it's not exactly breaking new ground or like changing anybody's lives. But if I was aware of this film when I was the right age for it, and I was already a fan of some of those films that we've already mentioned, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
this would absolutely been on like my watch list. I'd have chucked this on and watched it at a sleepover with my girlfriends, and probably like giggled my way through it and never thought about it again. Or it might have been one of those films that you get it on VHS, you watch it at every sleepover you ever go to, and are still like quoting it with your girlfriends in your 40s, and everybody else is looking at you like they have no idea what you're talking about. And obviously they don't, because nobody's seen this movie. But for like a certain population and age group, it's like this touch point. There are all sorts of these films that, because we didn't have streaming services back when we were kids, you had this certain selection of films that you just watched on hard rotation, and I could 100% see Teen Sorcery being one of those for me.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, especially if you were, like you said, you mentioned Sabrina, like Charmed, Buffy, and the aforementioned Craft. Like these were the movies that were kind of shaping the kind of the later Moonbeam vibe, whereas like early Moonbeam was trying to go for like Home Alone, Beethoven, Pagemaster, like younger kid stuff like that. So I can absolutely see it becoming like one of those low key sleepover hits for
me. The biggest area where it kind of hedges its bets a little bit and maybe isn't quite as successful is when it then starts to lean into the medieval or Sleeping Beauty type stuff, because then you're trying to kind of have it both ways, and it's like, well, you're trying to dumb this down a little bit, you're trying to make this appeal more to younger kids, where I think one of the best things about Buffy or about Sabrina was that they were child friendly and they were gateway in a lot of ways, and they dealt with the dark arts and things like that, but they would occasionally then get into go into some pretty like adult themes, which I feel like this movie isn't really interested in. It's like once it kind of gets going, it's like, well, then the central conceit of how they're going to defeat through sorcery is now going to involve like a sleeping beauty, like a fairy tale aspect of it, which felt a little weird and a little shoehorned in. And I think like when the movie first introduced this aspect of it, I was kind of worried because I was like, we're like halfway through this movie and I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to be really pissed if we spend the rest of this movie in like medieval times in like this fantasy. And luckily it doesn't. It cuts back to present day and then back, through their separate dreams. It does go back into that part again where admittedly that was when I was least interested in what was happening on screen. Anytime we were in the 90s and we were getting some iteration of light as a feather, stiff as a board going on in this movie, I was happy. And I will say, like, so I laughed when you were talking, Becky, about how and I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of AJ Cook's character, and I think it's because it's not said until really far in the movie. I don't think the parents say it's Dawn, but I don't think they say it until pretty late into the movie. But when Dawn is walking around,
definitely,
you said walking around, yes, totally, walking around the cafeteria looking for a place to sit. I'm like, I wrote down like, oh, walking around the cafeteria or walking around this waiting room of a veterans hospital that we're acting is like is a high school cafeteria. That's one of those like sets that does not work at all. Like, where are the cafeteria style tables? Where this is clearly like a tiny room that can house 30 people max. But you know what? They get a giant consolation bag of popcorn, so that's good.
Absolutely.
But I think that there was a time when like some of the sets in here work, and like that wasn't one of them. But there is one, well, two really, but one of them I think was it Flo? First of all, I'm sorry, I kind of love Flo.
Oh my god, she's my absolute favorite. Okay,
great.
so two really quick points. The fact that like the popular girls are called things like Mercedes and the three nerdy girls are called Franny, Flo, and Mary absolutely kills me. It's like normative determinism. What hope did these girls ever have in the social structure at this school?
Obviously, they were going to get into Wicca in high school. What are you doing?
So funny.
Out
Franny,
of the womb.
Flo and Mary. Are you kidding me?
Flo came out of the womb dressed as a 50s housewife, and so she was just named Flo on site.
She's like a cross between a 50s housewife and like Velma from Scooby-Doo. She's so funny. Absolute fave. I love her.
Well, that's her
an entire spin-off series about those adventures.
Well, that's her house they go to, right? Because she's the one who has the cool CD collection that rocks.
I think that's so.
It
is cool and it does rock. I hear she has American Rock Tape #1.
As it predates now, that's what I call music. She's got like cut to it, and it's like the Sixpence None the Richer CD is playing. Her room, whoever set dressed that room, there was a girl I was friends with in high school who lived down the block from me. Would spend a lot of time at her house, and that bedroom, whoever set dressed that bedroom looked really convincingly like an American high school girl's bedroom. It really did. And then when we go to Mercedes's bedroom later on, there's a Pennywise poster in the background, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize like they really don't let you know that like Mercedes is in like the skate punk scene.
And one of their posters
he's the popular girl.
One of their posters I have to shout out because it triggered like a very random video store memory. They have a poster for the movie The Whole Wide World, which is a totally forgotten like indie weepy starring Renee Zellweger and Vincent D'Onofrio. And I'm like, why the hell would that be on a teenage girl's wall? And it's because it was produced by Kushner Lock. So they just had it in the storeroom, and they're just like, hey, remember The Whole Wide World? Yeah, let's watch that movie. Like, that was just such a random pull, and it just made me feel like when I was in high school, like I would just put up whatever posters I was able to get for free from the video store. So like, I would have like bad like VHS posters for like random movies that I didn't actually care about just because they're movies. Obviously, I would put them on my wall. Like, what are you talking about? I got a movie poster. Duh. I had a
my favorite teenage girl's bedroom poster that I owned. Oh my god, was Edward Furlong on a beach.
Ooh,
Wow.
present
it was-
day Edward Furlong, I assume.
Uh, Edward Furlong, I assume around the time of Terminator 2.
Yeah,
Edward Furlong on a beach, and he was like in a sweater and jeans, but like barefoot because he's on the beach.
of course.
Mhm.
And it's black and white because obviously he's sensitive. And he was like holding a sunflower. That was
He saved it from
That's
the nuclear
incredible.
apocalypse. What a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'll still, not only will he save you from the nuclear apocalypse and like dive into a really beautiful emotional relationship with his cyborg / father figure,
Yeah.
he will also take you to the beach and bring you a sunflower. Like, of course I was in love with him as a teenage
Of
girl.
course.
Yeah, as long as you don't call moi a dipshit, he will bring you to the beach and give you a
Right.
sunflower.
Easy
I
money.
remember, not necessarily as a teenager, but maybe at 11, 12 years old, my next door neighbor, who's a girl who's my age in my grade, in her bedroom, she had this poster of a very stoic Harrison Ford reading a book, and it was one of those like promoting reading posters.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I remember like as a kid being like, why do you have a poster of Harrison Ford? He's like 100 years old. And she was like, he's hot. And I was like, no, he's not. He's old.
Sorry.
He's hot.
Now he's objectively
like-
old and he remains hot. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I just didn't get it at the time. I was like, he's over 40. How can
Yeah.
he be considered attractive?
Yeah. Go figure. May we all age as well as that, man. My God.
Oh my God, if
83 years old or something like that. Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
if anything is an advertisement for reading, I mean, obviously it keeps you hot for longer.
It worked for him. It worked for Miss Piggy.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen, timely. I'm gonna get timely on you. What I want right now is I want that same pose, except I want a promotional reading poster with present day Ernie Hudson.
Oh,
Give
yeah.
me
Are you
80
kidding
give me
me?
80
Come on.
Ernie Hudson.
I swear to God.
Not even a wrinkle on that man. It's insane.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but I want some.
Yeah. Well, Bustin made him feel good. Apparently, I don't know. It kept him. Bustin keeps you young. Apparently, that's getting gross now because now we're getting into Ernest Borgnine
I
territory.
thought for a second you were going to say that's getting cut, and I was like, oh no, it's not.
Oh no, I'm tripling it. No, I'm putting an echo filter on it.
And wait,
yeah.
and I'm sorry, I missed where the Ernest Borgnine of it all came in for a second.
Do you not know this about the Ernest Borgnine clip? Have you not seen this? Oh, it's one of the legendary like TV news goofs or something. They had like 95-year-old Ernest Borgnine on like a morning show at some point where they're like, how do you stay so young and still seem so energetic at his age? And he leans over to the host without realizing he's fully on a hot lapel mic, and he says, I masturbate every day. And then like the host looks all shocked, but like it's like it is fully picked up on the lav mic, and like everybody can hear it. It is not.
You've been doing it for years.
Obscure.
It was too much for Ethel Merman.
It was too much. Oh my Lord. Okay,
We're really playing to the whole house here.
We really are. Yeah.
Criminal Minds conversation, YA horror, point horror, Ethel Merman. Like, where won't we hit in this episode?
Well, here I will bring it back to the movie a little bit because I had a weird observation, and I'm curious if anybody can validate me here. There's a montage sequence in the middle of this movie where we're seeing like the escalating like back and forth of the girls like using their magic powers against each other. Very fun. But is this the first narrative montage we have seen on this show? Because it struck me, and I'm like, we if they're doing this, it's like in the end credits when they're recapping the entire movie or like showing you like footage of things, but it's never. I don't think I can recall a movie that we've seen that uses this as a narrative device.
You know, that's a really astute observation that I don't think I ever would have thought about unless you brought it up.
I hadn't
but
thought
I
about it
think,
either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're learning that in 1999, Panoram and Charles Band as distributor and Kushner Locke and all them, they said, hey, we heard about this fresh new talent named Sergei Eisenstein.
Yeah.
And then they just said, we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna go. No, I think it's something, man, I don't know if that's just kind of a byproduct of when you're dealing with a lot of these like super low and micro budget movies that you don't have necessarily the resources to do that. I mean, we watch movies a lot where it's a lot of static shots. two shots. You know, occasionally we
Yeah.
get somebody who's moving the camera in kind of a fun way, but
Not often.
a montage in a movie like that, I don't really know. And I mean, I know that this is a teen sorcery movie with a montage in it, and you know, we're talking about teen witches, and another movie already did it, and I don't know if we're going to be able to top that.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna really top that.
I'm sorry, everyone. You guys telegraphed that coming from a mile away. And I
hot.
apologize. And
You're
Becky, your look is puzzling to me. Are you not familiar with Teen Witch?
Yeah, please
No.
look up Teen Witch if you want to have a transcendent experience. That's like a rite of passage movie. Yeah, that's
oh my God.
Teen Witch,
moments
the
like
movie
this
that
are incredible because you assume that like certain pop culture things, as obscure as they may be, because I still feel like while Teen Witch is very well known, it's not. Yes, you stop 10 people on the street, probably 6 or 7 of them have never heard of Teen Witch or seen Teen Witch. But it's ubiquitous enough that it becomes one of those go-to references. And I just kind of assume that this is like just a given for anybody. So it's kind of crazy to me that Robin Lively and her Teen Witch movie did not really make an impact across the pond.
Zelda Rubinstein. Yeah,
I'm just about to say Zelda Rubinstein.
She's great in that movie. And this is Teen Witch is part of a very, very small canon of movies that started life as musicals and were turned into non-musical films at the very last minute. So this and like James L. Brooks's I'll Do Anything are two examples where like they feel really weird structurally, and it's because they were written as musicals without the music in them. And it's deeply strange. It's a really weird effect that is kind of fascinating. I think there's another example of that too, but I want to look into it.
Joshua Miller's in it.
Oh, being the snottiest little shit of all time. Like, oh my God, what a little bastard.
All right. This is just shot its way to the top of my watch list.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that this movie exists and isn't familiar to me. So I need to rectify this immediately.
The cute like hip hop boy, isn't he like the son of Robert Blake or something? He's a son of somebody like notorious.
Wow, he lived to tell about it.
He lived there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he'd forgotten his gun inside, so he missed that whole thing.
Well, okay. So you brought up Robert Blake, and you know, my
brain, really running the gamut.
My brain, yeah, it's like any Beretta fans out there.
For everyone.
I think, you know, my brain goes to Lost Highway, as most people my age does when I hear Robert Blake. Another cool thing about this movie that was unexpected was I did not know that we were going to end up in the Red Room at one point.
Yeah. Very strange.
And this, I think it was, again, a creative choice that this movie made that kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, didn't have to be this way, but they take the time to not only, you know, when they're going back through the, not porthole, as they say many times.
That's not right, guys.
No.
A porthole is something like on a ship.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's a portal.
It's that Canadian maritime tradition coming out, you know. It's everyone's remembering their days at sea as off the coasts of Nova Scotia. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then at one point they're like, okay, we're not getting it. Let's just call it a vortex, because it never gets called a porthole again. It's just like they switch the vortex. Like the person who's saying it, they're like, we cannot get them to pronounce this properly. Let's just call it
Up
something.
And at them. Yeah.
Up and at them.
They can't do it. But then the creative choice to not only have the action, like the film, run backwards, but to then have the dialogue backwards with the subtitles on, I was like, this is some like Michael J. Anderson, like weird shit that this movie does not have to do.
It doesn't need to do it.
But they do. It's same with the montage, right? Like exactly, because
yeah.
like a montage, and maybe just the reason why we don't see montages in movies like this is because it requires like B-roll, and it requires a little more time in the editing bay and like things like that. It just might be like a luxury that they weren't afforded, and for whatever reason they were able to put this in. But I do want to jump ahead and talk a little bit about the finale, which got a genuine huge laugh out of me. The idea that Mercedes' punishment is that she's sent into an alternate dimension where everyone is a nerd was so fucking funny to me. Like, she's trying to make fun of people's fashion choices and they just rip on her. Like, she doesn't know anything about quantum physics. It is her absolute nightmare. Like, the fact that she's like pretty and popular and being a cheerleader makes her a social outcast. So funny, so stupid, but so perfect. And her like triple cut like scream of a no to the ceiling is like so cheeseball.
And it was
so funny.
actually done in kind of what I thought was a clever way, where it's like they cut back to her at school and it's not inherently obvious, and someone looks at her and goes, who dressed you, Calvin Klein?
Yeah,
and she's like, yeah.
Like,
and then it's like there's these little introduction. And I was gonna say in the beginning, when Becky signed on and Steve signed on to the call, I was gonna say, I was like, where are all the cool people in the podcast? Where are the cheerleaders? This is like the chess club.
Yeah. Fucking chess club.
It's so good. Like, it's I also, plugging another one of my podcasts, I did an Erie, Indiana recap podcast.
Oh, I was there. I was watching that live. I watched that show live.
And this moment really reminded me of Erie, Indiana for a moment. I don't know why. Like, there was something about the way it was shot. There was something about the color palette, because they really kind of lean into the fact that all of these people are basically like dressed in kind of beiges and browns and kind of like sad toned plaid and stuff. And she is there in the center in this kind of, I don't know, like purple outfit, I think. It also really reminded me of the bit in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where Cordelia, she makes, so it's the episode The Wish. She makes the wish and she gets like zapped to an alternate reality, and nobody can wear bright colors because then the vampires like target you. And so they keep commenting on the fact that her outfit is like so kind of bright and colorful, and everybody else is in like, you know, beiges and creams and browns. So yeah, again, like so many of my other favorite properties are just like springing to mind the whole time I'm watching this film. And like, that is such a funny moment. It's like, it's smart. The whole screenplay isn't necessarily super smart, but there are these moments in it that really make you think like, yeah, they kind of knew what they were doing. Like, this is funny.
Yeah. Like, it might have needed a few drafts of polish or something like that to like turn it into like a you know, something you could really kind of full-throatedly recommend. But like, I don't know, I was hit. They were hitting enough stuff that I thought was really clever and really fun. Yeah, they were playing with broad tropes, but like they were playing with them in a fun way, and that was just a great like Twilight Zone-y kind of capper on this. That is also, it felt like it could have been a Simpsons bit, like, or a Futurama bit, like, no, Planet of the Nerds. Like, it was really funny to me. And I just that left a nice taste in my mouth with the aftermath of this, because I'm like, you know what, I recommend this movie. I had a really good time with Teen Sorcery. I did not expect to.
The other bit that
100%.
The other bit that really made me think like, oh, this is good. They're playing the comedy smart, is when the four nerd girls go to the library because they're like getting all the books out to I think figure out, you know, the history of the town and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, to figure out what Mercedes is up to. And there's the old librarian woman who is so obviously the witch from the beginning, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, just go with it. And there's that amazing moment where Dawn and the librarian are trying to have a conversation, and she goes, because she's old, she goes, "Speak up, dear." And so Dawn speaks at like a normal voice, and she goes, "Shh." And then what they do is Dawn like keeps lowering the volume of her voice, like by one thing, but like down to a whisper again, and she keeps going, "Shh." So she speaks slightly quieter, but not quietly enough. And so she'll say, "Shh." And I honestly, that little interaction, I was howling.
It's a good bit.
It's such a good bit.
Yeah. No, there's like a lot of really solid stuff in here that's just like, again, you have to love it when they just allow themselves a little bit more time to build in some of this stuff. And Victoria Muspratt, who is like not a she was treating this like it was her shot, I think. And it kind of ultimately did turn out to, because I don't think she really got to direct anything more after this. But like, I think she was doing a really good job here and doing kind of more than the assignment required. And I think that's
this
great.
Is a happy accident too, because Becky, this is your third time on the show, and we know famously on the show there's not a lot of full moon movies or Moonbeam, Torchlight, whatever movies that are directed by women, and now 2 of the 3 episodes you've been on have been female directed, which is like rare. Like we don't come across too many that much. I mean, we sometimes, like Steve said before, we get like a female pseudonym for Dave Dakota in one of his movies, but like, you and this is an interesting one too. I think she was involved in another movie before Teen Sorcery with Ali Sheedy that had a reasonably good reputation called Macomb County Jail. Oh yeah. And she directed that movie as well, and a few other like small things. But I think this was really kind of like that 1-2 punch was like she came to the country. An interesting story about her. It says that she won her American green card in the lottery, and she decided, I'm going to use that opportunity and go to Los Angeles with the last $400 that I have, and I'm going to give myself a 1-year timeline to get into the film industry. And she did. And so like, good on her for doing that. But with her, interesting story, Anita Rosenberg, who directed Assault of the Killer Bimbos, which you were on for. And then we've had some other ones like Linda Hassani, who directed Dark Angel: The Ascent, one of the best full moon movies, and she was kind of like a one-time director thing too. So this particular pool of talent that they go to all the time. I mean, these are people. Some of them are friends of the show, like Dave Parker and Danny Draven, and people like that who've directed, who are just reliable people who Charles Band knows he can go to, J.R. Bookwalter, people who can get those movies made quickly and cheaply and get something that's passable at worst out there on the shelves in their, incredible demands for turnover time. But it doesn't extend often as much to female directors. And so I think it's just kind of a nice happy accident that you've now covered 2 out of what is a pretty short list. Yeah.
I love that. I was actually slightly disappointed because on Letterboxd I've got a list that I keep updated of horror directed by women.
Horror
films directed by women, and I was like, "Ooh, I can put this on." And then I watched it. I was like, "This is not a horror film.
Right.
I can't shoehorn this into that list." And I guess the only other thing to I guess an observation that, because I did find that it kind of ground to a halt a little bit towards the end before we get to that incredible, denouement with her in the nerd universe. And Jared, I completely agree with you what you were saying about like basically when it then kind of transfers over to sort of medieval realm and Dawn's asleep because she's been put under this curse, and you then get them having to basically kind of transport Michael Charming, incredible, turn him into a prince, thank you, transport him there so he can like kiss her to wake up. And there is so much in films that we've talked about, like The Craft, where the guys are kind of hapless / toxic, and it's all down to the women to kind of save themselves, even if they're actually saving themselves from each other, as they do in The Craft. And there was something so disappointing for me after the kind of beginning of this film, where it was all very female centric and was like a lot of fun, to the point that it just ground to a halt. And then she's basically just kind of saved because they get the handsome prince to come and like kiss her and wake her up.
Yeah.
It's like, why have we gone back to Sleeping Beauty when you had so many other options to make this like an interesting kind of teen coven film? And then they just seem to like, I don't know, sort of, just fuck it up a little bit at the end.
I think it's so that the movie can kind of saturate the like youth fantasy market as well
Yeah.
as the teen sorcery market. But Becky, I know you're a big fan, as I am, and from what you were describing, I was thinking why I think I love it so much, and I'm sure you do too. I know you're a big Slumber Party Massacre fan, and that's kind of that. Oh, I always think about that, where it's like very female led. The guys are just like hapless eunuchs in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of the gender roles are reversed in the movie. You have like the cable woman, you have the handyman, I don't know, roommate / romantic partner maybe of the coach. The coach is female. The two guys who are trying to get in on the party are just like can't do anything but make all the wrong decisions and can't get out of their own way, essentially. And then but that movie like remains leaning into it, where it's like Michelle Michaels and Robin Still, and I don't know who plays the younger sister, Courtney by name, but like they end up kind of working together at the end, the three of them. But you're right, this kind of does then devolve into something a lot less interesting when it's just like, oh, it's a fairy tale and she needs a kiss from a prince. There were so many other places it could have went.
Exactly. I think that was it. I was just like, I'm really actually on board with this. Like, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but yeah, okay, I'm here for it. And then it was like, you've just kind of, they fucked it up slightly towards the end in terms of where it could have gone. Because like you say, there were just other choices. But hey, I mean, I still had fun.
And it is an odd choice to kind of sideline the protagonist for kind of much of the third act. Like she was just
literally put her in a coma.
She was just in a coma. Yeah. And I'm wondering maybe they had to work around like shooting availability or something, because she was like kind of an in-demand actress at the time. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I think it all still kind of balances out pretty well. And it helps that the supporting cast is engaging enough that like it can work without having the lead there to anchor it. But it is just kind of an odd structural choice.
Yeah, I want more flow.
Yeah,
more flow.
More flow. Absolutely.
Heavy flow.
Heavy flow. I think we need to, that's the title of her spinoff.
It is exactly
right there.
I want that show.
She's a bruiser. She's just she's beating on people. She's a heavy. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we have gotten about as much out of Teen Sorcery as we can, but as always, it is a delight to have Becky Darke joining us. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time. It's always such a pain to coordinate all these overseas recordings, but we're really glad you were able to make it work with your busy schedule. So thank you so much.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure, never a chore.
Anytime, you're welcome. What are you working on right now? Is there anything you'd like to direct people towards, social media or whatnot?
Yeah, so on social media, I am Bunny Darke, BUNNYDARKE. I think Letterboxd, I'm Becky Darke. I should probably line those up at some point, but I'll get around to it. And the main thing to plug is that I've got a Hammer horror podcast that I co-host with my brilliant co-host Kevin Lyons, and it's one of these sort of chronological watch podcasts where Kevin has seen every Hammer horror film more than once and is an absolute encyclopedia of them and an expert and a super fan. And I, at the start of the podcast, had seen a handful. I think I'd probably seen only about 5 Hammer horror films. And that wasn't from a case of me being sort of disinterested. It was literally just there are only so many hours in the day, right? So what we do is we are basically watching every Hammer horror film in chronological order and sort of following that journey from the late 50s to the mid 70s. So the first episode we released was Quatermass Experiment, and the last one will be which one's the last going to be?
Because Hammer's still going, isn't it? It kind of had a revival. But I don't know if it's kind of the same.
Yeah,
not kind of classical.
Not really. Like they released like the Women in Black.
Yeah, Women in Black was the last one.
With Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, can I just look up what the last one is? And do you mind if I just like re-record that?
No, and actually, Becky, this is a great time. I'll jump in here and give a second this checking out this podcast, because Hammer horror movies are a big blind spot for me. So when I saw that this was happening, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to listen to people talk about these movies. There's only a couple that I have seen, and it was like, all right, well, I'll maybe if I'm able to go along and watch along, I will. If not, I'll listen and see which ones sound best and seek those ones out. And I will say, a movie that I watched and listened to the episode for, that I was super excited about because I had heard about it and never seen it, and had a great time with it, was the Brides of Dracula.
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm new into that field as well. I recently watched Horror of Dracula for the first time, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I guess it's one of those things where like, oh yeah, you think you never need to watch another version of Dracula, and then you watch that one, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a different energy. This is something,
I had seen that and The Curse of Frankenstein. Those two, and maybe one or two others, but like Brides of Dracula was such a fun excursion from where I kind of thought the movie was going to go. I want to get on the what's it, Curse of the Werewolf? Is it the Oliver Reed one?
Oliver Reed. Oh my God.
What a madman. Just do a whole series about that guy. And there's probably 100 million stories about him just being a crazy drunk, like lunatic.
Dude, if you need a co-host for an Oliver Reed podcast, I'm your girl. I'm obsessed with him. He's incredible.
Because isn't it like, it's like every story is like, oh yeah, he came in, he drank an entire keg, he threw a moose out a window and like called my mother a whore, and then the next day we showed up and gave me flowers and we had the best day ever, and he's the sweetest man alive. And
absolutely, and also gave like one of the best performances that we've ever seen on screen because he was so fucking talented. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's a fascinating guy.
Putting that idea in my back pocket.
For sure. So yeah, we basically go from the Quatermass Experiment, which was our first episode, and then the last one we will do will be 1976's To the Devil a Daughter. And so we kind of go through all of the gothics. So if you hear the words Hammer horror, obviously you think like blood, boobs, castles, vampires, Frankenstein, The Mummy, werewolves, all that kind of stuff, these big gothic films. But also they had sort of from the the early 60s onwards, so in the sort of middle of their run of horror films, they also did this kind of like parallel track of really fascinating like thrillers. So movies like The Nanny with Betty Davis, incredible films like Taste of Fear, and The Witches, which sort of that's one sort of like straddles the two sort of subgenres that they were playing around with, or styles that they were playing around with. And they are such an inherently British film company, and something that looms so large, I think, over especially British horror fans, but horror fans all over the world. And so we're having so much fun, like basically doing a film a week. And
it's a delight.
They have largely so far been bangers. There's been a couple that I've been a bit like, and Kevin and I definitely, I think we've got stuff coming up where we are going to slightly diverge on our opinions and things, but we are just having so much fun. And I get to watch these really kind of quite cozy British horror films every week and speak to Kevin Lyons for a couple of hours every week, and I'm just having the best fucking time. So if you want to listen, it's called Hammer Time. It's on the EOH network, but it's wherever you get your podcasts. I think we've got about 15 or 16 episodes already, but we'll be going up into the kind of like about 60 episodes in total by the time we get to The Devil a Daughter. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. Definitely give it a listen. And if Hammer horror is like a blind spot for you, like what better way to kind of go through the journey of discovering those movies and listening to Becky and Kevin do these episodes. It's a delight to listen to. And you should also be like part of Becky's Patreon, and you should be part of the Evolution of Horror Patreon, so you can hear her on Fresh Blood also. There's lots of different ways where you can find all of the things that she does there. It's great. And if you're a fan of this show, like we know that you'll obviously be a fan of a lot of things that Becky does. One thing you can do for us to help us out would be to stop what you're doing right this second and give us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast catcher you're using, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever it might be. Go to Hammer Time and give it a 5-star rating too while you're at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe write a little review. Tell the world what you like about the show. It'll just help it reach a wider audience and more people. Steve and I love doing the show. We love to see the audience grow and new people find it. If you want to know what we're doing kind of on a weekly basis, the best way to do that is on Instagram. You can follow the show at puppetmasters_Castle Freaks. You can also follow me at _Giallo_Jared. We will do new episode posts on Blue Sky as well. We have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to where you can hear audio versions of these shows. Maybe more content on YouTube at some point. Who knows? But it's hard because Steve works really hard on another podcast. So Steve, what else have you got going on?
Well, thank you. I also have a show called Cinemarcade. That is cinema and arcade mashed together. That is what we are doing. We're watching movies and playing the video games based on those movies to see how they contrast and compare. So we recently recorded episodes on a wide range of movies, everything from Disney's Hercules to Eon Flux, the failed Charlize Theron sci-fi disaster. I don't know what else to call it. It was a first-time watch for me. That thing is nuts.
I love that film.
Really? Oh, we should have had you on. You know what? One of my co-hosts had that same opinion as well, and I kind of came down really positive on it. I love Karen Kusama, and I love like a lot of her work, and you can just tell that movie was massacred in the editing room. Like it was absolutely shredded to bits by the studio. It's a crazy story.
I think that is fair. I came into it with expectations through the floor because I used to love the MTV
liquid television thing.
Exactly. I was completely obsessed with that cartoon or animation, and avoided the Charlize Theron Karen Kusama movie for so long because I was like, this is going to be awful. And then eventually just like chucked it on. I don't know, it was like a Sunday when I was hungover or something. So maybe I was in the right frame of mind, and I obviously was. But I was just pleasantly surprised.
Okay, all right. Look, I love to hear it. It did not work for me, but I think it worked for. Well, you can hear that episode. It should be out.
I'm going to listen.
But like we had some conflicting opinions on it, but I think a lot of it was behind the scenes. Like they just didn't like the artsy kind of version that she got. And it is, she got put into movie jail far more harshly than any male director would do, especially because her follow-up film to this was Jennifer's Body, which was a similarly deeply misunderstood movie, poorly marketed movie that failed at the box office. So we had lots of interesting stuff to talk about with that one. So check that out wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out as well, because next week we have a doozy for you. A double feature of I don't know if I should spoil my opinion on it, but a double feature of movies that I consider the bottom two films on our entire the worst two movies that we have covered in the entire show.
Oh my god.
Because we are talking about The Killer Eye and its deeply unwanted sequel, Killer Eye Halloween Haunt. We're joined by the amazing Katie Rife to talk about this one. We have such a blast digging into these, but these movies are insane, hot garbage. That's almost like a recommend. I almost want people to watch these just to see exactly how bad things can get.
Yeah. Drum up some interest in this next episode, if for nothing else, morbid curiosity from our fan base to see where you're going to go with this one. And like our fans know that sometimes we record out of order, and that episode's already been recorded, and it's a good time. So definitely there's something to look forward to there. Well, thank you again to Becky Darke for becoming officially a freaky and joining us for the third time.
I am honored.
Thank you. We hope that you guys have, decided that you'll seek out TEEN Sorcery. It's actually on Prime, included with Prime Video right now.
Yeah, like so regular
definitely
Prime.
Give it a watch if this kind of stuff interests you. And we will see you next time for an episode that is just scraping the bottom of the barrel. See you then.